The key idea for this intertextual study is about war and how it can affect people long after the battle is over. This key idea is a constant theme portrayed through the poem A Mother's First Tear, as it is set not from the usual perspective of the soldier, but the perspective of a mother whose child has been sent to war and been traumatized or affected by PTSD when he comes home. Differently, someone viewing or researching a war story might come across the perspectives set from the soldier or the people who were actually there. This is the same perspective the creators of the film 1917 used, telling a story from a third-person perspective of a soldier who travelled to different front lines in the war. By a film doing this, the creators are able to show exactly what they want the audience to feel and think by controlling what they're viewing and how he is being affected by what's happening around him. A Mother's First Tear is a moving poem that switches tone from sad to disappointment and anger, which is achieved through the use of the different types and of the context different words are used in. One example of this is the descriptive words Peterson uses and the way she uses imagery to give the reader a sense of empathy, humanity, and feeling for the soldiers that were affected by these traumatic experiences. Where is Private Tommy? He's blown up all around. His comrades spent hours picking him from the ground. Using this technique of pathos, combined with the effects of intensely graphic use of imagery, makes the reader feel almost as if they were there in the situation as kind of a side viewer experiencing what was happening firsthand. The painting, The Battle of Kearsarge and the Alabama, depicts a boat which has been blown up. This artwork uses the same type of imagery as A Mother's First Tear, with the explosions and bombs. However, the painting is visual. Through the author's use of graphic imagery, it makes the reader or viewer able to feel like they're standing there and seeing what's happening, and forces them to gain a better understanding of the feelings the authors are trying to communicate. The song I Was Only 19, written by Red Gum, includes the lyrics, "And Frankie kicks are mine, and I can still see Frankie drinking tinnies at the Grand Hotel, and I can still hear Frankie lying screaming in the jungle," describing, like Peterson did, through graphic imagery, the horrors and trauma caused by the time at war. As described in both these pieces of text, not only do the horrors of war affect the people at the time, but they are affected for the rest of their lives. "Can you tell me, doctor, why I still can't get to sleep? And nighttime's just a jungle, dark and barking M16, is a clear example of a soldier being affected long after the enemy is gone, describing things such as not being able to go to sleep and hearing sounds of rifles at night. Peterson also writes about this in A Mother's First Tear. He screams in the night, for the battle still roars as he lays in bed and relives the horror, telling us that this person, the mother's son, is also affected by PTSD, even after the war is over. In the song, Fortunate Son, the writer speaks about how some people are born into a wealthy families. Some folks are born silver spoon in hand. It ain't me, I ain't no millionaire's son, no. Through this quote, the author is describing how some people are born into everything they could ever want, but others have to work for everything and aren't as lucky. The author is inferring through the use of star-spangled eyes and explicitly, they send you down to war, that some people may fight in war as they may have been drafted without signing up themselves, whereas others may choose to go themselves to earn their place in their country. Like in both I Was Only 19 and A Mother's First Tear, the soldier most likely would have been affected by PTSD for the rest of their life as well. According to usatoday.com, the song Fortunate Son is ironically an anti-war movement anthem that criticizes privileged people who use their money and status to deter from the Vietnam War draft. In the film Saving Private Ryan, commonly known as one of the best-made World War II films to date, Captain Miller, James Ryan's war captain, suffers from PTSD. In the film, right before the soldiers embark at Portsmouth, Miller's hand begins to shake uncontrollably. He plays it off as nothing, not wanting to share to his men that he suffers from the disorder. However, it is later revealed that he is in fact suffering from it. Similarly, in both A Mother's First Tear and I Was Only 19, different kinds of PTSD are shown. In A Mother's First Tear, the reader is told that the ex-soldier still longs for his buddies and friends who died over there, in the war, and that he can't sleep. While in I Was Only 19, PTSD is also described by the ex-soldier not being able to sleep. He is also told to have effects when hearing something such as the Channel 7 chopper. In the film 1917, an iconic new film about World War I, main protagonist Lance Corporal Blake and close friend Lance Corporal Schofield are given a mission to deliver a map to a high-ranking officer. While on this mission, the pair have to fight through tough battles and hardships in order to deliver this message, bringing them closer as friends and creating a bond between them. In A Mother's First Tear, the quote, "his buddies, his comrades, his men," shows that, like in 1917, his fellow soldiers are more than just comrades, but also friends and people who develop close bonds, shown by the use of the phrase buddies. In today's society, wars are still prominent things. Maybe not like World War I or II, but wars in Middle Eastern countries against individuals and terrorist groups are still happening today. As long as this fighting continues, songs, poetry, films, and other forms of artwork will be continued to be made about this horrific topic of war.